Respected brothers and sisters, inshallah, over the course of next 6 weeks or so, we will be studying the topic of marriage from the Islamic perspective. Now, for you brothers and sisters who've been here before, over the last last year or so, we studied a number of subjects. So for last year we studied, before Christmas, we studied the essentials or the basics of Islam. And we looked at some of the basics of fiqh or jurisprudence. We talked about a number of elements from the Islamic jurisprudence or fiqh as we would know it. And we touched upon salah, we touched upon aqidah, the basic tenets of faith, and on tahara and so on. And thereafter, in the second semester, we studied the life of our noble messenger, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Before his birth, throughout his life, the time in Makkah and the time in Medina, as well as the time of his death. And then we also studied the life of the four Khulafa al-Rashidin, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. Really, the reason we've chosen marriage on this semester of this year, 2010, is for a number of reasons. Last year's evaluation showed us a number of brothers as well as sisters wanted to study the topic of marriage. Brother Ahmed, jazakallah to him, and to other brothers and sisters who took the time out to consult with students on campus to find out what would people like to study. And what the majority came to an agreement to was the subject of marriage. Now, many of you may be who may not be married, or many of you who may be on the verge of getting married, or many of you who will surely, inshallah, get married in the coming future. We really need to know what are the basics of getting married and why is marriage important. Before, inshallah, I begin, if you look at your handouts again, I've tried to just give you a quick synopsis of what you will be studying over the course of 6 weeks in this green sheet of paper. And then on the white pieces of paper is a breakdown of the course. The reason I've done this is that it gives you the opportunity to look at the elements you'll be studying throughout. And one thing I would advise to all students, and myself alike, that we should try our utmost best to attend every week of the study circles. Of course, they'll be recorded and so on, but by missing out on a certain week, we will really be unable to put the jigsaw together. So there'll be certain weeks we discuss some important elements of nikah, of marriage, which if we don't attend, we will miss out. So my advice to everybody is that we should try our utmost best to attend every week, promptly on time, and inshallah, as my responsibility to finish on time as well. An itinerary really where we will start at 6, inshallah we will try our utmost best to finish for 6:30. We will pray our salah for Isha, and then inshallah we'll have some food, and then we'll leave the building. If anybody wants to leave straight after the class, they can do so as well, or even in the middle if you need to leave for whatever reasons. My other advice is the books of hadith. Now, just some terminologies. Again, you may be very aware of these terminologies. When I talk about the word of Allah, the book of Allah, I mean the Holy Quran, which was revealed to the final messenger Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who came in Makkah to the parents of Abdullah and Amina radiyallahu anhum. So when I talk about the word of Allah, I mean the Holy Quran. When I talk about the ahadith, again for yourselves, I mentioned again that you must have studied this, we studied this last year. Or when I talk about the sunnah, I am talking about the actions, the sayings, and the doings of our noble messenger Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which really are the foundations of this religion. This religion is not based upon hearsay, it is not based upon solely upon analogy, it is based upon two fundamental things. Firstly, the Kitab of Allah, the Book of Allah, and the Sunnah of our noble messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Of course, the athar, or the traditions, are also evidences, which are the actions and the doings and the agreements of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and the Tabi'un, or the individuals who saw the Sahaba, but not necessarily the noble messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and their actions are also in some elements used as evidences or as fundamentals of religion, which the Noble Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has allowed for it to be. But really, two main milestones you need to keep in mind, which is the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inshallah, over the course of the next 6 weeks, everything which I will be giving to you or mentioning to you, I've allocated about 12 different books, which I'll try to bring everything together and try to share with you. One of the main books is known as Al-Mishkat al-Masabih, which is a book of hadith, which has subcategories, like the books of fiqh or like the books of jurisprudence, but it is a compilation of ahadith. So you will have chapter under salah, you will have the chapter under tahara, cleanliness, and the author has compiled ahadith with them. And majority of the ahadith within them, specifically under the chapter headings on section 1 and 2, which you will find within those books, are ahadith which are collated from the books of Sahih al-Bukhari and the Sahih of Imam Muslim rahmatullahi alayhi. There are sometimes some ahadith which I will share with you, which are of some actions and doings of the Noble Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which have been collected in other books, like the books of Imam Tirmidhi or the books of Imam Ibn Majah. But mainly, we will focus upon the works of Imam Muslim and Imam al-Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi. When I will share with you some the words of the Quran, the interpretation will not come from myself, which I feel is unbefitting, but rather I will use, or I have used, the books of tafasir, or the books of commentary, specifically the book of commentary written by Imam Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi. Imam Ibn Kathir was, or is, one of the leading commentators of the Holy Quran. I will also be using the commentary of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, who was a companion of the Noble Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So hopefully, with all these things put together, I will be able to share with you the topic of marriage. And the reason I mention this is, I need to make this very, very clear, that what I will share with you has been, inshallah, later on, these notes which I use myself after these sessions can be shared with yourselves as well. So you can look at, if you want to, you can look at further issues from these. So this really sets the stone of where we will be studying from. Okay, now regarding marriage, marriage is something which every man and every woman desires, that they come into a wedlock or into a marriage which is happy and successful. It is something which we find within nature. It is not necessarily something which only Muslims do. All walks of life, religion or no religion, people always marry. It is amongst the fitrah, or the etiquettes of nature, that everybody at some point in their life marries. Even in today's society, where marriage has, at times, especially in the Western civilization, and other civilizations as well, marriage has tended to lose its significance. But yet again, marriage is still looked upon as something which is sanctified and which is very, very lofty. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a number of verses, has mentioned about the importance of marriage. The Noble Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that surely marriage is not just a mere contract, but rather it is a sunnah, a practice of mine. And he also said that whoever dislikes and wants to stay away from my sunnah, specifically also coming in relation to marriage, then let him or let her know that they cannot be amongst my ummah, amongst this nation of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Noble Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has also said that from all the sunnah, what I mean by sunnah is the lifestyle and the actions. So all the action and lifestyle of all the prophets from Adam ala nabiyyina alayhi salatu wa salam to the Noble Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which approximately, according to the books of history, are 124,000 prophets, every prophet has married. If not once, or multiple times, but every prophet has definitely married. And marriage has always been looked upon as something which is lofty and honorable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as I mentioned earlier, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. And out of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for which are very, very a lot, Allah says, He has created mates from within you. And then Allah says, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that you may receive contentment, raha, a peace of mind from one another. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carries on to say, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And Allah has put love and compassion between a couple when they come into the bond of a relationship through marriage. Then Allah carries on to say, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Surely in this bond of marriage, when a man and a woman come together and they have love and tranquility and peace amongst themselves, Allah says, surely these are signs, or there are signs in this union and this bond for those people who reflect. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is indicating here is Allah has so many signs. For you and me, when we talk about signs, we want to be extraordinary. We want to see the name of Allah written in a potato. Or we want to see the name of Allah written in a big fruit like a melon or something. For us, that's like, wow, that's the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Really, that is, yes, it's a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Allah tells us in the Quran that leave aside these extraordinary things. A simple union between a man and a woman is amongst the signs of Allah. Allah says in another part of the Quran that surely amongst the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is this, that Allah has created this great, magnificent sky. Allah has created this great breadth of land. Allah has created this existence of air. All of these signs are surely a sign for those people who reflect. So again, it's not about something which is extraordinary. Those simple things which me and you take for granted is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has surely kept an example and signs for the believing people. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has again and again emphasized the importance of marriage. And today me and you may not be able to understand the importance of it, because why? Today's society, and this is important to note, today's society, or shall I say the free-thinking society, individuals think that I am free from any law and order. I am free from any regulations. And hence, because this mindset is such that people think, well, why do we need to follow a divine religion? And we find in Western society and other parts of the globe as well, specifically the West, we see communities and generations moving away from any God at all. So be it Christianity, be it Judaism or Islam, people are moving away from this concept of God towards this concept of no God. And when you see these concepts happening, people have this feeling of free thinking and think to themselves that there is no need to be bound down by a divine law. What that leads to is people thinking them to be free and doing what they want and however they like to do things. And inevitably, and one of those things leads to the matter of, again, when we talk about marriage, there will be sensitive points which I will mention, and do bear with me and do forgive me if I go out of bounds, but it's important for me to touch upon. Where people think I can have intercourse or have a relationship with any man, and for a man, with any woman. And we see a society where, come for the weekend, and, people are, as we would term, sleeping around. And the relationship of a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or a relationship of couples before wedlock, it's become such a norm in society that marriage has got no significance left. But the truth is, since the history of time has always been the case, with all walks of life, that marriage has always played an important and a core activity in societies. And scholars write that when people think themselves to be free from everything, that free man or that free woman, and then lead towards free sex, or free intercourse, or free relationship, then naturally we will see the degradation of society. Naturally we will see people not caring about anybody. Children won't care about elders, elders won't care about their youngsters. Families, it will be very, very difficult for them to maintain their children. Children will be leaving home, sex outside of wedlock will rise in such a level, and this is amongst the signs of the Day of Judgment, that even children will give birth to children, to their offspring, which we see today. Just the other day I was reading the Guardian newspaper, and I read in Hertfordshire, A girl of 11 years old gave birth to a child. And these are amongst the ayat of Sa'ah.